The city of Chicago careening towards a shutdown as city aldermen not able to come to terms on the city's budget that has to be approved by the end of this month to take effect January 1st. Well, Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson has a slew of tax increase ideas, but Chicago aldermen don't seem to be on board with those. This is Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop with you each and every weekday morning. Get to thecentersquare.com where you can sign up for the latest to get headlines in your inbox. Again, go to thecentersquare.com. Click newsletter and you can join us there. It's not just Illinois, though, where I'm the editor. It's also national. You've got a whole host of stories from all across the country, including from Washington, D.C., that it touches on, for instance, the farmer relief that the Trump administration announced yesterday. So go check that out and get those headlines in your inbox. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson yesterday holding a news conference to discuss the issue of, well, the city's budget, $16+ billion he's looking to spend, but it's a $1 billion+ deficit that they're looking to fill. You've got the mayor for months talking about a variety of different taxes. He tried getting the property tax passed, but that didn't work in the previous budget. He said he wouldn't bring anything like that back, but then as the city's not able to come to terms with how to tax and spend, you get into some more loggerheads where you've got less than 3 weeks now for them to pass a budget for it to start on New Year's Day. And what could happen if that doesn't come to fruition? Well, the city of Chicago could have a shutdown and you could have city services dramatically impacted. Here's Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson yesterday.
Is this number the sticking point?
Thanks, yeah.
Okay.
Hi, Mayor.
Hi. We will also do everything in our power to prevent a government shutdown. A shutdown benefits nobody, least of all the poor and working people of Chicago who rely upon the critical services that the city provides. The last time Chicago came close to a government shutdown was in 1984 when Alders, Burke, and Verdoliak tried to override Mayor Harold Washington's veto before striking a deal hours before the deadline. We don't want history to repeat itself. We know it was Mark Twain that said that though history doesn't necessarily repeat itself, it certainly rhymes. And we would much prefer that the council continue to work with me to land a fair compromise that protects working people and ensuring that we're making progress at addressing the financial mess that we all inherited.
So again, Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson saying they inherited a financial mess. He's been in office for several years now. I mean, they're already talking about the next mayoral election. Where is this an inherited mess? I mean, even before you came into office as the mayor, the city of Chicago and the just gobs of federal tax dollars going in through COVID relief, for instance. So interesting to hear the mayor say that. Given, you know, here he's been mayor for several years now, and what's he inherited exactly? So the mayor talking about a variety of different things when it comes to taxing and spending, right? And he's talked about, a head tax, for instance, and that would be a tax on each employee over a certain number of employees that a business may have. Monthly, they would be charged a tax on each individual. And just by way of thinking about this, small business, 50 to 100, if they have 100 or more, they could be paying $22,000 a year just in a head tax to the city of Chicago. He says negotiations continue about all kinds of what he calls progressive revenue.
This is the context our budget negotiations are under right now. So I sent a letter to council members. I sent it this morning to give them an update of how the state of negotiations are going right now. We continue to be open to negotiations and compromise, but we will not sacrifice the poor and working people of Chicago to balance this budget. We will also do everything in our power to prevent a government shutdown. A shutdown benefits nobody, least of all the poor and working people of Chicago who rely upon the critical services that the city provides.
Again, talking about the government shutdown and wanting to avoid that. Question was asked about union contracts if the government shuts down in Chicago and how to deal with that.
Well, look, again, we're working hard to make sure that a shutdown does not occur, because to your point, there are collective bargaining agreements and other city services that are mandated to be fulfilled. And of course, our Department of Law continues to update me on so the legal parameters around if such a thing were to occur. But again, I'm going to remain hopeful that City Council does its part to ensure that a shutdown doesn't occur.
And what is exactly that part that the City Council has to do? Well, apparently it's find more, quote, progressive revenue. Could that be the head tax?
You know, in terms of our ability to negotiate around the details of this particular revenue generator, that again is going to go towards critical services, I've always been amenable to compromise.
Well, can you distinguish, though, between a 100-member company that's a small company, really, compared to, thousands of employees in a mega corporation?
Well, you've already made the distinction. They have more employees.
But are you going to?
As I said, I'm amenable to having a discussion around how we generate revenue from this particular idea. Look, the ultimate goal, as I've said repeatedly for the last 2.5 years, we need Springfield to support the state as a whole around progressive revenue ideas, of which all of you have had a chance to embrace those ideas. In fact, these ideas did not give birth when I became mayor. These ideas go back over a decade, right? So again, I've always been open to compromise. The only thing that I've said that I think, here's the only thing that I don't believe we should do, is negotiate our values, right? Our values are to protect working people. How we generate revenue to do that, I've always been open to compromise.
But is it to generate revenue above and beyond what the city's already bringing in? I mean, the city's among the highest taxed cities in the country, in a state that's among the highest taxed in the nation, and we're facing the highest property taxes and corporate tax rates higher than average. You got unemployment issues and a whole host of other things. Gas taxes. You look at buying a pack of smokes in Chicago, and holy cow, that'll make you quit real quick. So obviously, he's looking for more revenue than what the city's already getting, because he says they need to spend more on education, as somebody associated with the teachers union, and public safety for more crime intervention. What about more police? And obviously there's the ongoing concern of the use of state tax dollars for non-citizen migrants who are here illegally. So what's going to happen in the less than 3 weeks, we'll be watching. It is Illinois in Focus Daily, each and every weekday morning with you here for the Center Square.